From inspiration to manifestation. That's a phrase that sounds good, but let's see what it really means. And let's see where the resources to that lie. Because every single step of that process from inspiration to manifestation is driven by spirit from within you, impelling you to take action, impelling you to clear things out. So let's look at what that looks like. We are designed as the interface. We're designed as the interface between the infinite potential and the manifest reality. We're designed as that. We're born as that interface. And it takes a long time sometimes. Sometimes people get it quickly. It's taken me a few decades to kind of understand this. That we have every single thing we need within us, accessible to us, to achieve what we want to achieve on this planet. So let's look at inspiration. Now, I started thinking, what inspires me? I am a sap at a live performance when the actor or the singer gets into that groove and the chills go over my body and a tear runs down my eyes because they're in sync. You know, you can tell that when someone's there. And then I was thinking, when I teach a class or I coach someone or I get to witness that spark of recognition go on in someone's eyes, someone's heart, you can feel it because we're all this same presence, just uniquely individualized as each person. So you can feel that, you can sense that, and that so much just moves me, and I know it moves everyone. Now, but what was it when I was a kid? Now, some people know I'm an electrical engineer by degree, and so I like technical things and little things. So as a kid, I remember maybe first or second grade, my parents got me the Batmobile model set. You had to cut it apart, file it, sand it, put it all together, and it came with a Batman and a Robin, and you had to paint all that. You know, of course we are talking, like in the 60s, so it was Batmobile. And then the Apollo, we were trying to make it to the moon. So I got a model of the Apollo, and I built this model, and I painted it. And I just loved doing that. And then when I got older, my parents would get me science kits from Radio Shack. And I'd build radios, and I'd build things like that. Of course, that's why I became an electrical engineer, because I like to do stuff like that. But one time, I remembered this as I was preparing the talk. I hadn't thought about it in a very long time. So I am not, let's not claim that. So far, to my recognition, I am not an artist. Connie is. Connie is, look at the vision board and look at her art. She's only been painting for 2 years. You would think she's been doing it her whole life. But I remember sometime junior high, we'd finished breakfast, and I was sitting at the breakfast table with my parents, and I got a piece of paper and a pencil, and we had one of those things you have on your kitchen wall, like a mold of something, a mold of a pot or something. And I sat there and I sketched an exact replica of what it looked like. And when I finished, I went, whoa, where did that come from? Because I'd never done anything like it, and I've never done anything like it since. But in the moment, I was inspired, I did it. I thought, wow, that's interesting. So that's in me somewhere, right? Just has to be tapped. What is it that inspires you now? What is it that gets you moving? Is it art? Is it poetry? Is it movement? Is it architecture? Is it some dream inside of you that wants to come forth? What is it that gets you inspired? And then, what inspired you 10 years ago? Is it the same stuff or something different? What inspired you when you were a kid? Is it the same now? I mean, I've thought about doing models again, but I haven't done them in decades. So what is it that inspires you now? And think about it. What inspired Gandhi? Somebody from a lower caste system in India stood up to authority, not with force, with complete nonviolence. We now have a season of nonviolence that happens in some of our centers that Michael Beckwith kind of began with Associated Global New Thought organization, but that's available. But what is it that was so resonant in Gandhi that the whole society responded? That's that presence. I recently watched the play LBJ All the Way at Zach Theater. It was very, very good. And it showed how he cajoled. He was kind, and if kindness didn't work, he was forceful to get the legislatures to do what he wanted them to do. It was a very good play. And it was a period after Kennedy's assassination, before LBJ's first election. And so it was a period of Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights and getting that through the legislature. What was it about what was in Martin Luther King Jr.? What did he hear that inspired him to go through so much to achieve a lasting change in this society? If one man, Gandhi, one man, Martin Luther King Jr., or others that are like that, if one person, the suffragettes, I saw the commercial, evidently Meryl Streep is in a movie coming out soon. It's called The Suffragettes, when the women were getting their right to vote in the early 1900s. What inspired them to stand up and to say, this isn't right? What is in you that wants that? We're all here for a mission. We're all here for a purpose. What is that inside of you that seeks, that knows the truth so well that you can stand in it despite all the storms that happen around you? Because we know change causes storms sometimes. Change causes... People don't like change. We don't like change. We're in this class, prosperity from the inside out. And luckily, we're being driven from the inside with my morning meditations, and we're being driven from the outside with all of Patty's coaching and stuff that we're doing. So we're approaching prosperity from the inside out, from the inside out. And I know that everybody in that class, including me, has had a lot of stuff come up. Because when you want to change, well, you have to change because you aren't already the person that would have what you want. So if you want something different, we have to become people who are different. And that causes us to have to change. I was listening to a TED Talk last night, and I forget her name, but she said that within 5 seconds of an impulse to do something, of an inspiration, you must do something within 5 seconds, because our brains want to say, oh, good, oh, can't do that now. We're very, very quick at stopping ourselves. And she said, if you can't take action then, she was in the TED Talk, she said, when they had a reception afterwards, she said, if you have an impulse to go over and talk to someone, go and talk to them and do not think about it. You have the impulse, follow it. If you can't follow it within 5 seconds, make a note. Make a commitment, because change requires us to change our state. And we're created as creatures of habit. Since I teach things that are based on science, a neuroscientist I know, who is actually a columnist in the Science of Mind magazine, Mark Robert Waldman, I got to talk to him a lot. And he said that neuroscience proves that we are designed as creatures of habit. When we hear a no, our whole system responds right then. But if we hear yes, it takes several yeses to make it through our system. We're used to being, no, I'm doing this. We're used to being in our habits, in our trenches of the way we are. And so we have to listen. The thing that frees us is that inspiration that wants to come forth, and it's saying, hey, here's a thread to get you out of your normality. Here's a thread to help you to change. You better follow that thread right then, because there's energy with that thread. Otherwise, we clamp it down and say, well, our ego always finds some reason. And as she said last night, as I was listening to that talk, she's like, you're never going to feel like the change you want to have. You have to overcome your feelings. You're never going to feel, like for me, I'm detoxing and dropping weight and going to the gym, and I never feel like going to the gym, right? We never feel like making that change. But it's that inspiration that we can follow, that energy, and that will help us get there. I looked up the definition of inspiration, and the official one is the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. That definition is written for someone who lives in their egoic awareness, someone who lives in the surface mind. I would define inspiration as a creative idea that comes from the one mind, because we're all one mind, because you are the one who can do it. That's why the inspiration comes to you. Plus, it comes with all the energy and the resources to implement it. So inspiration is not just a thought. Inspiration is a thought that leads you into a place where all the energy required to do it, all the resources required to do it, and it came to you because you're the one to do it. So why would we ever say no? I've said no many, many times to inspirations because my ego shut me down. But those egoic awareness thoughts, they happen. They're going to happen. We live in this physical world, and that's what those thoughts are associated with. If we want to live outside, above the fray of normality, we have to say, okay, the ego's really having its monkey chatter. Thank you, monkey. The ego is having its monkey chatter, but it has nothing to do with me. And I'm taking my attention off that, and I'm standing with the inspiration I have and the goals I've defined. That's our conscious choice every moment.